everybody, and here we are back with Robinson Crusoe Adventures on the Cursed Island, the first scenario, Castaways. I've set up the scenario, just a brief, I'm not going to go over the rules, I'm just going to point them out as I go along. What I will mention is it's kind of a Euro type game with worker placement, so it's Euro-y type. There is some dice rolling, but it's a lot to do with worker placement, and workers in this case are these pawns. So I'm playing easy mode, which means I'm playing with two players, two characters, but I'm also giving myself the dog, George, and Friday, because I really want to kind of get into the game and enjoy myself until I'm fairly confident that I'm mastering the rules, but also get to know the different cards, their possibilities, and I'm trying to see as many cards as possible, especially from the inventions deck, to really learn how the game flows. And that's a bit difficult if you know, like, play on the hard mode, because then you'll probably not last very long. So on the first round, you skip the event phase and you go straight to the morale phase. There is nothing there because on a two-player game, obviously, you start with 0, nothing happens. What we're going to do is our carpenter is the first player. So next up is the production phase. We have our camp on the shore, and what we're going to do is we're going to get 1 food and 1 wood in the available box. So these are resources that we could use right now. We also have the food crates card, which is one of 3 starting cards that you can choose from. And we can do 2 things with this. Either we commit 1 person to it and we get 1 food, or we commit 2 pawns to it and we get 1 regular food and 1 non-perishable food. What we're going to do is, first of all, we need 2 food to survive the night. Well, I mean, or to not take wounds during the night. There are also a couple of things that are quite important, and that is to build a permanent shelter, for which we would need 2 wood. So what we're going to do is we are going to look at the 2 starting equipment things that we have. The starting items. And we're going to use the pipe and tobacco to give our carpenter 2 determination tokens. Why am I doing this? The reason is that she has a special ability which allows her to discard 2 of these tokens to reduce the cost of wood for any building action by 1. And interestingly enough, it doesn't say reduce it by 1. It reads to spend 1 fewer wood during 1 action of any type. Sorry, not even building, but any type of action. So if, and this is how I've played it before, because, well, I mean, I may be metagaming here, because it doesn't say reduce it by 1 to a minimum of 1. So if something only requires 1 wood, you can actually, going literally by this information on the card, reduce it to 0. This is how I've played it, and this is how I will continue to play it. And although I played it this way, I still lost. So what she's going to do is she's going to later on discard these 2 icons to build the shelter, which requires 2 wood for 2 players, or using her ability, she will reduce it by 1. So what are we going to do? Well, first of all, I am going to use our explorer, and she's going to work on the setup of the camp. She's going to rearrange the camp to make it look nice and cozy. And if you do this twice, you increase this by 2, but you also get 2 times 2 in determination. We're going to send Friday and the dog to go exploring, and we're going to use our carpenter, and I'm going to play it safe, to build our shelter. Well, actually, no, we're not going to do it this way. What we're going to do is we're going to send her here to get the food, because I don't want to start this game with taking many wounds. So now we're in the action phase, and we're going to resolve it, and the way or the order in which you resolve the actions doesn't really matter. So we're going to start with the exploration. So these guys, we have 2 pawns here, so we don't need to roll. And we get a, I don't even know what that symbol is, if that's plains or steppe. Anyway, that's a really interesting one, because first of all, it produces food. It also adds 1 item to our hunting deck, because this is empty at the moment, but we also get to draw 3 exploration tokens, and these are good tokens, they will help us. In addition, we can now build on subsequent turns any of these items that require the plains symbol. So first of all, we're going to cover all of the stuff that we could now, in theory, start building with these tokens to mark them as possible. Now, unfortunately, yes, we do have a rope. The rope is quite essential. Then we're going to draw an animal from the hunt deck. We don't look at it from the beast deck. We're going to put it onto our hunt deck, so this now becomes available for hunting. We're also going to draw 3 of these markers, and we're going to turn them over and see what they do. Okay, so we get a treasure, we get vegetables, so if we have a pot, we can use this to heal too, and we get a fallen tree. Now, there is an explanation in the booklet as to what these actually do. So with regard to the fallen tree, what the fallen tree token does for us is it must be discarded immediately at the end of the action phase to place 1 wood in the available resources space. Not in the future resources space, but in the available resources space. So we're going to discard this now, and we're going to add 1 wood. The treasure, we also need to, the first player draws a treasure card from the mystery deck. If this token is traded in during the action phase, the treasure is placed in the future resource space. So we are going to do this now. So we take our mystery deck and we start drawing from this deck until we come upon the first treasure. That's a trap, so we ignore this. This is a monster, we ignore this too. Monster again, trap, treasure. We get a hatchet. In the shadows, you see something glittering. Put +1 on the tile with your camp, +1 wood on the tile with your camp. From now on, during the production phase of each round, you get +1 wood as long as there is wood on the tile. This is brilliant because, so this one actually gets discarded. It cannot enter the game again. These ones get shuffled back into the deck. We need to build a wood pile that contains 3, 6, 10, 15 wood. Because what we need to do is we need to signal a ship, which the ship will be in reach on turns 10, 11 and 12, and we need fire for this, and we need wood. We need to have a wood pile. So what we're going to do is, this is brilliant. We're going to add this token, which means that on production we get +1 wood. So not on this turn because production already happened, but on the next turn this gets discarded and the vegetables get into the future pile. So these two now return to base, as it were, and they are done for the day. So we now resolve the food crates card, which also is discarded, and since it's one of the ones that is special, I'm going to put it back into the box. I like to have things neat and orderly, and I'm already working on a storing solution for this game. So we get one non-perishable food, which means it doesn't die overnight, and one perishable food. They also get into the get put into the future resources box, so they are not available now, so I couldn't use them for an action, but I will be able to use them later on. So this is our explorer, Jane. She's going to return to base as well. And lastly, we have our carpenter, who is now going to build the shelter using one wood, which gets discarded, discarding her 2 tokens, determination tokens. And we're going to flip this. So this is very important because this shelter is going to keep us safe during the night. Now that is the end of the action phase. So we're now going to go into the weather phase. The weather phase isn't really happening now because what usually happens is you have to roll dice, or you have tokens in here. We don't have any tokens because nothing has happened so far, and we're not rolling any dice until turn 4. So we're on turn 1, nothing happens. So now we go into the night. So now all of this becomes available to us. We could in theory use it. So now let's see what happens. During the night phase, players can move the camp, we don't want to do this, to an adjacent island tile. Each player must discard 1 food or take 2 wounds. So we discard 1 food for our carpenter and 1 food for our explorer. If we had any other perishable food items, they would be taken away now and go to waste. But we only have 1 non-perishable food, which is really good. So we're going to keep things as they are. And then we all go to sleep because we have a shelter. We don't suffer any adverse effects from sleeping under the stars. So on the next round, we will have to start working on producing enough wood to build up our wood pile, but also on ensuring that we survive. So that was now the first round. So the turn tracker moves up 1. And now we look at the next day. We draw an event card. That is always the first thing you do, except on turn 1. Night attack, a dreadful roar wakens you. Each player gets 1 wound. So we take 1 wound each, 1 and 1. And if possible, look at the top card of the hunting deck. We can do this. I'm not sure why looking at it makes any difference. Oh, it's a cheetah. Oh my god. At the moment we would take 4 wounds when we attack this one. Okay. Okay, so this has now been resolved, and now it goes into this field down here, and then we can decide if we want to do something about it. If we don't, then it'll move over on the next turn, and then on the 3rd turn from now on, from this one on, it will be discarded. No, it's actually the 2nd turn after this one. And then an effect would take place. And this effect is, if possible, discard the top card from the hunting deck. Draw the top, and what we would do is in search of a beast, draw the top card from the hunting deck. Do not fight the beast, but resolve all other effects of the card, then discard it. For this we would need 1 person and 3 weapon strength. Our weapon strength is 0. There is no way we're going to be able to do any of this anytime soon, at least not at the moment. The thing about hunting is it'll give you food, but you can also get food through production. But what it also does is it gives you fur or skin, and you need this to build, for example, a roof and the palisade. So or also to build the mast, which is quite important because the mast actually helps us immensely in order to get our wood. So let's look at the next phase. That's the morale phase. Nothing happens here. Oh, sorry, actually the first player is now our explorer. And now we have the production phase, and we now see wherever our camp is, that's where we produce. So we get 1 food and 2 wood. Now that's important because we have the +1 wood production because we got the hatchet. So these go into our available resources. So now we have 3. We have 2 foods, that would be enough for tonight, and we have 3 wood. Now what we need to decide is what are we going to do, because we want to build the wood pile, all right? But we now have to decide whether we want to put wood there now or not. Now let's see, we could build the rope, which is quite important and for which we do not need wood. We could also build medicine, for which we also do not need any wood. We could also build the shovel, and that's as much as we can do. I once built the dam, but that didn't really help us at all. And also we can't build it because we haven't discovered any rivers yet. So what we're going to do is we are going to use the hammer and nails twice and discard this card, but we get 2 additional build pawns for this. This will allow us to build twice this round without having to roll any dice, because as soon as you start rolling dice you can run into issues. What we're going to do is we're going to discard 3 wood, and we're going to put those, well, no, we're not going to discard them, we're going to put them on the wood pile. So that's actually not too bad. And next up we have to plan what we're going to do on our next turn. So first of all we're going to send Friday and the dog to explore. We're going to send our explorer to make up camp twice, and our carpenter is going to go and build the rope, and she's also going to build or is she? Yeah, she is going to build the medicine, why not? And now we resolve our actions. So first of all, our guys start exploring. It doesn't really matter in which order you resolve them, by the way, but I just like to start from left to right. So we draw the top tile. Oh, wow. And it's a river. It will add something to our hunting deck. It will give us food if we move our camp there, but we also get to draw 3 tokens again. That's really good. So first of all, we're going to move this here. So we draw the top one from here and we're going to put it back here. So this now gets shuffled actually. That's number 1. Number 2 is we're now going to check what we can build going forward, because now we have the river. We're also looking for the mountain area because we need the mountainous area in order to build fire. So the river allows us to build a map, which is what we're going to be doing next round. That's very important, and I'm going to explain to you why very soon. So we've got 2 things that need the river. And then we're going to draw 3 of these. 1, 2, 3. And we get a goat. For 1 weapon strength, we're going to get a skin and food. Another goat, and a treasure. So the goats go into the future, resources, and now we're gonna draw a treasure like we did the last time. So we're gonna start, and it's a trap. Another one is also a trap. I don't even look at them because I don't want to kind of... here we are. Protective amulet. Keep this card. You can use it once to remove any token or marker from an island, tile, or space. Discard after use. That's very nice. We're going to give it to our explorer because she is the first player. It would be nice to increase our weapon strength. We could do this using the knife, which we could build once we have a mountain, which we still don't. Okay, so so these guys are done, so they return to base. Then we have our explorer. She's gonna clean up the place twice, which gives her 4 determination tokens. So she's then also returning to base. And then lastly we have our carpenter, and she's going to build a rope. And she's going to build medicine. And these two go away. This may have been a mistake, but we'll just, you know, I also realized last time that it doesn't make sense not to use your abilities, because you might then end up essentially not being able to use them because the game ends prematurely. So I've decided to actually, when I have something that is available, I will do it. Next up we have the weather phase, where nothing again happens. That's very good. And then we have the night phase, where we spend 2 food, and that's it. So now it's the next day. We draw an event card. First player changes depression. You feel very pessimistic about the future. Discard 2 invention cards. Each player discards 1 endeavor. We don't have any invention cards. Oh, you just generally oh, okay, I get it. So what we're going to do is we're going to discard the pit, and we're also going to discard the raft. We're not going to use a raft. Okay. Each player discards 1 endeavor token, so we're going to use the pipe for our cook. So she gets 2, otherwise she would take a wound. And she discards 1, and our explorer discards 1 too. Consolation. We would have to spend 1 pawn and 1 food to discard this card to get to endeavor. And if we don't, we have to discard another 2 invention cards, and this one goes down 1. We'll have to think about that. I'm not sure if this is what I want. Okay, okay, so morale. Our first player gets 2 endeavor, so she's now back at 3, and we'll see what we're going to do about this. So now we're in production, so we get 2 wood and 1 food immediately. What are we going to do this turn? Now let's think about this. We need 2 food because we need to survive. We're going to go and explore because we need a mountain. Here we've got 3 endeavor tokens. And we can also go and send her scouting. Okay, let's think about this. We need to build the map. That's clear. and we need to start gathering food. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go exploring. We're gonna build the map. And we're going to gather food. Oh yeah, sorry, and we're also gonna put these 2 wood over here. And that's it. So let's take our actions. First of all, exploration. Okay, that's very important because this is actually what we've been looking for. This is the mountain, which we need to build fire. So first of all, we're going to add a black disc to anything that needs a mountain for building. Yep. So we've got the knife, that's good, and we've got the fire, that's also good. We're going to add one thing to our hunting deck, and we're going to shuffle this. And we're going to draw another exploration token. Healing herbs. Okay. And that's these guys done. They're going to return to base. Then we're going to build the map. Which is really important. So the map now allows us to use this green token, which is an exploration token. Also, it allows our explorer to build her shortcut. This is something that I should have drawn or taken from the snare, is what she builds. And we're also going to have the shortcut. The shortcut allows us to choose one resource on a tile that's not our own tile and have it essentially given us during our production phase. So, very good. But for this we need the map. Okay, so let's get cracking now. They've done their bit, so now we're going to go... she's actually going to discard 3 endeavor tokens to look at the top 2 exploration tokens and keep 1. Now, oh wow, so these ones are wild cards, if you like, and their meaning changes from scenario to scenario. Let's look at this one. This one is herbs plus 1 healing, and this one is oil, which gives you 2 wood, which you can only use for the wood pile. So we're of course going to put this one back and kind of shuffle them. I might actually get a bag for this at some point. And we're going to use this, and we're going to get 2 wood, and we're going to put them on the wood pile straight away. Does anybody know what turn we're on at this stage? This is the first turn, was this one, second turn, we drew this one, third turn, we drew this one. Okay, so we're on the 3rd turn now. Okay, good. That's very good. Our wood pile is coming along nicely. Righto. So now she needs to do her, I guess, scavenging to get the additional food, which we put up here. And then she returns to base. And that's it. That's the end of the action phase. We're gonna make all of these resources available to us. Now it's the weather phase. Nothing happens, no icons have been drawn, and also we don't have to roll weather dice yet, but on the following turn, from the following turn onwards, we will have to. Okay, so now it's the night phase. We eat and go to bed happily. Next round. We start round 4 with drawing an event card. Howling from the woods. The roar you heard during the night promises trouble. Draw 3 beast cards from the beast deck. Choose the one with the greatest strength and put it on top of the hunting deck. Now that's going to be interesting. We draw 3. It's a gorilla, strength 6. Birds, strength 1. And alligator, strength 2. It's strength 6, so we're going to take the alligator. We're going to put it on top of the deck. We're going to shuffle the rest. Now, what happens is this one replaces this one, and this one gets shoved off. And this is the night attack one that we had earlier, which means we're going to discard the top one, which is good because we certainly do not want to fight the alligator. We're way not strong enough. Okay, so that was actually not too bad. So actually first player changes as well. So now it's our explorer again, and she gets 2 resource tokens as 2 determination tokens. And now we need to start doing our resources, available resources, and now we need to start thinking. Because we have a couple of things that we need to build. We need to build the fire, because otherwise we can't ignite our wood pile. And we should also build the snare, because this allows us on the tile with our camp to produce additional food. And that's what we are going to do. So we're going to build, okay, we will explore, because we need to explore. We're going to send Friday and the dog and our green map pawn, because if they want to explore anything that's close or only the 1 tile away from where we sit, from where our camp is, you just need these 2. But now all of these have been explored, so they have to take one step further. So they would need a third, if you like, travel step. So we use this for this. That's it. So that's that. Oh, sorry. We are going to put these 2 on the wood pile. These guys are going to go exploring. We are going to discard 3 of her tokens to give her an additional build action, which we're going to use for the snare. And she's going to build her shortcut. And for this one, we're going to try and build the knife. For this we will have to roll. No, that's not good enough. Yeah, we're going to do it this way. The 2 of them are going to go scavenge because we do need additional food. Okay. Yeah, and she's going to try and build her shortcut on her own. Okay, so let's get started. Activities. First of all, we're going to go and explore, draw the top tile. Very nice. It's a river, which we've already had. It produces wood and fish. And we're going to draw one icon. Oh, wow. It's this one again, which is herbs +1. So we just, does this mean we have to exchange these automatically at the same time, or do we just do this at some point? We're just going to do this at some point, so it becomes available in the future. That's nice. The two of them return to base. We're going to scavenge for food. These two return to base. She's going to build her snare, which means we can now get +1 food on our tile. Oops, that was wrong. +1 food on our tile. So we don't have to scavenge in future. And now we are for the first time going to roll dice. We're going to try and build our shortcut. So for this we have to roll 3 brown dice. And we will see what we shall see. Oops. Okay, so we have a success and nothing else happens. So we successfully build the shortcut. Now, what does the shortcut actually do? We use the shortcut and we place it on a tile that is not our home tile, as it were. And it allows us to, well, I suppose you could say, gather resources from there. And we're going to use this to get additional wood, obviously. Okay, now, oh sorry, we forgot to take 2 endeavor. Who's the first player? That would have been the explorer. She gets 2 endeavor. Determination. Okay, last but by no means least, we enter the weather phase, and now we have to roll our first weather die, and that is the orange die, and that's gonna usually be terrible. Oh yeah, actually everything that we have becomes available now. And it's 2 rain clouds. Now, that's bad news because we don't have a roof. So, for each cloud, we need to discard 1 food and 1 wood. So we have 2 clouds, so we remove 2 food. We can't remove wood, so each one takes 1 wound. And now, that's the weather phase done. The problem with that is it's now the night phase, and since we have nothing to eat, we need to lose 2 wounds each. But we are going to get rid of this to get 1 health, and we're going to give this health to the carpenter. And that's the end of this round. Okay, next round is round 5. And we kick off with the event phase, and the first player changes. The ocean is in a bad mood today. Put the storm icon, put the storm marker, sorry, in the weather phase. That's not good. Because what this does is it decreases the palisade level by 1. So we do need to increase the palisade level stat. Okay. This one goes away. And we have to reduce our happiness level by 2. So it means that on this round, nobody gets any morale boosts. Production. We get 2 wood, 3 wood, 2 food. 2 wood, 3 wood, 2 food. Okay. And we are going to now we need to plan carefully what we're going to do. The palisade is reduced by 1 due to will be reduced by 1 because of the storm. It is at 0 at the moment, that's not good. But we are going to build fire this round. So we could, of course, increase our palisade through a build action as well. But fire is more important in a way, because without that we can't really ignite our... So I say what we're going to do is we're going to add 1 wood to our wood pile. We're going to build fire. We're going to build the knife. And we're going to, increase our morale. And that's all we are going to do now. But we are also going to discard 3 and look at the top 2 exploration tiles. Candles. What does that do? Candles. Candles. This token gives you 1 neutral brown action pawn. Or we get 1 additional or we're going to increase morale. Going to put the candles back. We're going to increase morale. Because we need to get determination tokens. That's important. Whoops. So, okay. Action phase. First of all, we're going to give him... Friday gets 2 determination tokens, and we increase morale further. And he returns to base. And the explorer builds the knife, which increases our weapons level by 1, and our we build the fire and we increase the palisade by 1. And that's essentially all we're going to do. And we now have the weather phase. So first of all, the storm hits and we lose 1 palisade. And then we're going to roll the die. And we get 2 clouds again. So what we have to do is for each roof level missing, we have to discard 1 wood and 1 food, which is what we're doing. And then we lose 2 health, 1, 2, because 1, 2, we have no food left. Okay, so that was that. Not such a good round, but we now have fire, which is good and important. And we're going to draw an card. First player changes. Go outside the camp and start to pray. Put a -1 in the exploration card space. Okay. Okay. Draw the top card from the hunting deck and fight the beast. That's an iguana. This gets put away. We have weapon strength of 1. It has 4, so we take 3 wounds. 1, 2, 3. That's not good. But we get 3 food, which is nice. 1, 2, 3. And 1 skin. And we put this away. Morale phase doesn't do anything for us. Now we do production, where we get 2 wood. And, no, actually we get 3 wood. And 2 food. So I've got plenty of food. And now let's see what we're going to do during this round. We need 5 wood on our pile. So what are we gonna do? We have more than enough food. We also have 1 skin, which we can use to build a shelter. And we are going to build a roof with this. We're also going to commit 2 wood to the wood pile. And we will have to explore this time round. So we're gonna go with 4. Why are we doing this? Because we need to counteract this -1. So we're gonna go here. And she's gonna go and increase morale. And let's see what we shall see. First of all, we will reveal the top tile. And it's again a step. That's not what I was looking for. I would have wanted hills, but you know, you don't always get what you want. So this one goes away. And we're gonna draw 1 of these thorn bushes plus 1 palisade. That's brilliant. And they're done and they return to base. Then we're going to build up here to increase our roof by 1. And then we're going to face the weather gods. And it's just 1 cloud. And for each cloud, we discard 1 wood and 1 food. That's what we do. We have enough wood and we have more than enough food. Then we're going to eat, and all of the perishables go away. And we get the thorn bushes, which increases our palisade by 1. It's very good. So this goes away. And now we're on the 7th turn, and it means we will be rolling all of these dice going forward during the weather phase. And we would really appreciate... Oh, okay, we can actually now sacrifice the goat, as it were. Okay, going forward, it's going to be important. Night phase is over. Let's... Oh yeah, she increased this by 1 because she was making camp. And the first carpenter. Okay. Lightning hits a tree and starts a fire. The closest wood, camp tiles first, is exhausted. Cover it with... Ha! We will counteract this using the protective amulet. Keep this card that you can use it once to remove any token or marker from an island, tile, or space. Ha! I laugh at you. So, that's it. We lose 1 palisade because of this event. We gain... Who's the first player? I think it's her now. We gain 1 determination. Production. We get 2 food and 3 wood. 1, 2, 3. Immediately. We've 0 palisade. We're going to put all 3 of the wood on the wood pile. So that's now full. We're going to sacrifice the goats, both of them, and get 1 hide and 1 food each. And what we're then going to do, and sorry, I forgot to put up a grey marker. What we are then going to do is we are going to build a roof. And we're going to go and explore. And she is also going to build a palisade. Oh no, what we're going to do is we're actually going to do this. And she's also going to make up camp. Okay, camp number 1, explore number 2. Draw 1 card. Poison. That's brilliant. What we need is hills, because we can't even build the pot that we need for all of this. So that's kind of annoying, but that's the game. This one goes back here. She's gonna discard this card and get 1 determination token. Here we are. And next up is our carpenter, and she's going to increase this by 1. And then we're going to experience the weather phase in its full capacity for the first time. Okay, no one attacks us. We get 2 snowflakes. That's bad. Oh my god, we may die now. We can't discard any wood. So we lose 1, 2 health. 1, 2. Then we compare... Okay, we've just lost. Because we're dead. Darn. Because we have 4 clouds altogether, we would have to discard 4 wood. No, we would have to discard 2 wood and 2 food. We could discard the food, but we can't discard the wood because we don't have any. So she takes 2 wounds and she's dead because we can't heal her. And why can't we heal her? Because we can't have a pot which we could have used to make medicine and stuff. So that's the end of the game. I hope you've got an idea of how the game plays. Now, the game is brutal, and this is the easy mode. Easy mode meaning you have 2 more pawns to do actions, namely Friday and the dog, who both do not need to get food. They're not affected by the elements. Friday can die, but he doesn't really... but that doesn't really mean that you can't continue playing. I mean, when or if Friday dies, the game still continues. Whereas if one of the players' characters dies, the game ends. We've been quite successful with regard to the wood pile. There I should probably have played it a lot more conservatively. It helped that we got the hatchet. You can also build the hatchet as a specific thing for this particular scenario, but we got it for free without a build action, without having to spend wood, which allows you to get additional wood. That's important, but probably I should have, I should have spent more time. I don't know, maybe more time exploring, I don't know. As you can see, I only rolled the dice for an action once. Maybe I should be a lot less conservative and a lot more push my luck and just hope for the goodness of the die rolls. But all in all, I would say that this is an incredibly deep game compared to games like, and it's completely soloable. It's very easy to control 2 characters. It's not a problem at all. The decision making is very rich. And what I like, and I was always going to do a comparison between this game and another game, which is, this game is quite old. It's 6 years old at this stage. It came out in 2012. And there's another game that came out in its 2nd edition last year, I believe, and that is Nemo's War. And a lot of people kind of go, oh yeah, and this is like, the best solo game ever, and look at the deep decision making that is involved in Nemo's War. And I have to say that I've played Nemo's War several times, and to me it's actually quite flat. And I was always wondering why, for those of you who know the game, and the way this works is you play Captain Nemo. It's based loosely, very loosely I should say, on the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne. And Nemo essentially decides to go to war or not, maybe. It depends on the motive that you choose for him. So you have 4 motives in the base game, and I believe that they just had a Kickstarter where they added more, I don't know if they added more motives, but I think that I read somewhere that they were planning on doing this. Anyway, as a result, Nemo can do exploration, he can do, I think, anti-imperialism or all-out war. He's just out there to war. But at the end of the day, what happens is the board will fill up with ships. And when you're, for example, in exploration mode, you actually do not want to, or I think also, me as a player, if I don't do the war thing, but if I do the exploration thing, I actually don't want to spend my time sinking ships, because sinking ships means you're killing people, Mostly people die. When ships sink, people usually die. But that's essentially what you have to do, because otherwise you will be completely overpowered. And if at some point the whole board is full of ships, you simply lose the game. Okay? So even in the most benign play mode, namely exploration, you cannot but kill people by sinking their ships. And I really don't like this. And I don't understand, when I look at a game like this here, that they never decided to have something like wildcard tokens that you draw instead of normal ships. That means something different depending on the scenario you're playing, or rather the motive that you have. Like in this game, as I showed you, you have those exploration tokens, which means something different depending on which scenario you play. So you could have the same thing. Instead of drawing a ship token, what you could do is you could draw a random token, which is shaped like a ship because you draw them blindly from a bag. But it doesn't really represent a ship, but depending on the motive you have chosen for your Nemo, it'll mean something different. That would make much more sense, and it would also make the game a lot more, in my opinion, interesting, because as an exploration person, you try to not reveal the ships until pretty much late in the game, because you obviously do not want to run into getting what is called notoriety. You don't want to increase your notoriety, because if you increase it too much, you will lose the game. That's a nice mechanic which I actually approve of, but it doesn't make any sense then when you see, okay, the only thing that you can do is actually attack people, because otherwise you will be overrun. In that respect, it works a lot like some of the other games by victory point games that follow the States of Siege mechanic, because it does kind of follow that mechanic in a way. So to this day, I don't really understand why they didn't decide to go for a wildcard approach like they're doing it in the game Robinson Crusoe, where you have those wildcards, which make sense, perfect sense, depending on the scenario you're playing, because depending on your scenario, you have different requirements. And it would have been so easy to implement, but no, they decided not to implement it. And in the latest Kickstarter, they haven't made that change either. And add to these facts the fact that this game retails at £85 in Europe, which is around 101, which is pretty much $105 at this stage. $105 for those of you in the United States who own the game. It retails at $56 in the United States. I checked. So think about those. Think about the price and think about the game itself. Would you play, or would you have bought this game? And do you think it's worth $110? I honestly do not think it is worth that, and especially when I compare it to a deep and decision-rich game like Robinson. So Robinson Crusoe. So that's essentially my 2 cents. I hope you enjoyed this playthrough, and I'm pretty sure I'll try other scenarios, and I'm gonna tape those as well. This is my second playthrough of Castaways. I've lost again, but the frustration level is actually quite low, because I just think this game is extremely well implemented, and you kind of want to go again. You know, it's not like one of the games where you kind of go, oh my god, I've lost again. I don't even want to try again, because setup is so complicated or time consuming. You can set up this game in about, I would say, 5 minutes. Probably if you play with more players, the longest time will be spent on deciding who gets which character, because each character is quite different. They have quite different abilities, and this time around I at least used them. When I first played I kind of didn't, so I try to use their special abilities, which make a huge difference to the game. But I think I can do better here. I think I should have used the Explorer once to check the top 3 tiles, and then chosen one, because that might have helped us getting hills, which we really needed to get the pot. So that was something that I definitely neglected. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.